into second anniversary, and sleeves are rolled up to ensure accountability and effective governance. The midterm milestone paved the way for fresh review of the President's administration, including ministers' performance and key strategies, which will inform future decisions. The Central Results Delivery and Coordination Unit, an agency under the presidency, is responsible for assigning scores to various government ministries and present the scorecard to the president for final review. Joining us for this conversation is TV host and columnist Samo Mashaye, who has been speaking with us all the while. We also have joining us via Zoom from the United States of America, convener of Social Rehabilitation, Grace and Support Initiative, Dr. Oludare Marindoti. Good morning, Dr. Marindoti. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everybody. Good morning, everybody in the studio. Uncle Sam, nice to have you in the same studio again.
Well done.
All right, let me begin with you, Dr. Marindoti, with regards to the assessment of the president's midterm performance. Before he came into government, he talked about his agenda, the Renewed Hope agenda, and getting persons that he believes will be able to deliver on all of his ideas that would move the country forward. From your assessment in the past 2 years, have the president and his colleagues, his team, been able to ensure that Nigerians have renewed hope in all that he is doing?
Thank you very much for that question. The first thing I want to say is that as a big supporter of President Tinubu, I believe after 2 years, I should give a bit more critical assessment of his administration. So, like the Yoruba people will say, if two siblings leave a room laughing, they've lied to themselves. So I want to be as critical as I can be. So when you talk about renewed hope, the Yoruba people also have a saying that hope delayed will make the heart despair, right? So definitely the president has made the most important moves when it comes to the unification of the exchange rate and, removal of the fuel subsidy, right? But the pain that the Nigerians are feeling is definitely very real. So in my own estimation, how I would describe it is that the Nigerian state, Nigeria as a country, is definitely better off on the path to that renewed hope. But the Nigerian people are worse off, and this is not me saying it. This is the administration saying it, that there is temporary pain. And this temporary pain has been going on for 2 years right now. And if we let it continue for another 1 year, by next year, we will not be able to campaign on temporary pain. That will not be a very good campaign slogan. So people need to start seeing a bit of respite. And I feel like, when it comes to communication of these policies, I don't think the administration has done an effective, strategy in terms of communicating this in, digestible terms to the Nigerian people. When it comes to like the removal of fuel subsidy, or the unification of exchange, which is even the biggest cash cow that Nigeria was emerging. And, I like to always use a bad example to make a strong point. So I want to use one bad example to make that strong point for the unification of exchange rate now. I know like last year, Dangote said that for his refinery, he got access to about 2.7 billion dollars at the official exchange rate. If 2.7 billion Nigerians needed $1,000, which is about the same thing, we will not get the same official exchange rate. The aboki that will give us about $1 billion less. So this multiple exchange rate is definitely only sequestering our foreign, our commonwealth in the hands of the wealthy who can buy it. So we need to, all the people, we need to, sensitize people to get behind this policy. And also and also the removal of fuel subsidy. Let's even assume there is no fraud in it. It is the rich men that are using private jets, that have 18 car convoys, have mechanical generators and not your I better pass my neighbor generator. So these things are all subsidy for the rich. Even when it comes to the subsidy on electricity, that I did not know until this administration came in, that electricity was being subsidized. I could remember growing up, my grandma, harmonica that my cousin gave her was Mama Atupa is lantern. That's because she never had electricity. But I'm sure the people like the mother of the president or mother of Otedola, people who are in Lagos, they are not subsidizing. They are not calling them Mama Atupa because they will have electricity. So all these things are benefiting the rich. But the pain that Nigerians are feeling, in my own opinion, is due to another policy, which I wrote about 5 days after the president got in, which is our punitive and restrictive import duty on essential items that we need and we do not make enough, most especially food. Food import duty, there is an economist that said it in the 1920s that import duty or tariff is substituted devaluation. That is to say, if something was costing $1 and you put import duty of 100% on it, if $1 was $7.50, that thing will cost you 1,500. But if you devalue your currency from $7.50 to 1,500 to be the same thing, Nigerians right now have to face a situation of devaluation with that import duty. So survival has become almost impossible for the average Nigerian. And this is the one that I am really worried about, because Nigerians need to be able to buy food.
Now, we understand, we understand what you're saying and why you are saying it. You explained it earlier on that you would like to be as critical as possible. Uncle Sam, he alluded to the fact that policies without implementation is a problem. And Mr. President yesterday also recognized the fact that implementation has been an issue. What do you think the administration should do to ensure implementation of these policies that we recognize are people-centric?
Well, the issue of implementation has to be put in context. Which implementation are we talking about? Is the implementation of the removal of the subsidy regime, or is it on the collapse of the exchange rates, which were actually the fulcrum of the decision by the government, to handle the economy? Because he promised before he came, and everybody promised, that it is no longer sustainable for us to stay with the fuel subsidy. It's not sustainable for us to continue to pay for the value of the naira, which was when we pay for it is racketeers actually that were giving money. You call that kind of thing a Hobson's choice. Do you decide to sink with the racketeers, or you want to swim out of the racket? Now the question is, we had to choose the latter, because the other one, you were going to swim and drown. The other one, you will be in a very difficult situation. But if you stay the course, you get out of it. Okay. You see, the issue of dealing with the economy that has gone through a strain, and you said it was Buhari's time. It's not. The problem has been there for decades. We have been living a lie, and the president has communicated this. The thing about communicating hunger is that you don't reason when you are hungry. This a writer who said, "I am hungry." He said, "I'm philosophical." Then the person says, "Because I'm hungry." So the real issue is, how do we make a choice? And that's where the courage of the president has come here. And I read it in the Financial Times editorial, giving him real pass mark yesterday. Yeah. When he said, Nigerians may not feel the impact yet, but what he has done is to save the Nigerian economy, because Nigerian economy was a racketeer's paradise. So to take it from that racketeer's paradise, you have to make a choice. And to make that choice is not often very easy, but you take a courage and do it. Okay. And that's what we have seen now. We have seen that the foreign exchange has stabilized. We have seen that we are paying our debts. We have seen that even states have become as solvent, even more solvent than they were. Over 2 decades now. The states have not been as solvent as they are now. Right. Delta has paid half of its debts, amounting to over 200 billion. Jigawa has paid 90% of its debts. So the states have been made flush. The state governments need to do more to bring this program to this issue of palliatives. And that's what they say, that the people are not feeling it. They're not feeling it as much. But as you can see, even the price of things are coming down. The price of food is tracking down. Right. The price of fuel is tracking down. So the signs are there. But the point is to let the people know. And the people are seeing it. Right. They can't say, if you went to the market last December and you bought rice or beans or tomato or rice, and you go to the market today, you can't say that the price is not better.
All right, excellent.
So we have to understand that these issues are there, and then the systemic handling of the structural base of the economy, which is what is going on. That's why you have been able to solve the issue of loans, get the debt situation out of our hands. And I spoke earlier of ways and means. 30 trillion naira in debt. We're printing money for survival. We're going to print ourselves out of existence.
We'll come back to you.
Yes.
Let's try to engage Dr. Marindoti once more. If you look at the submissions by Sama Mashe, reading out the achievements of this administration, of course, some of which you agreed with, and you saw the challenges we had at the time, seeing Nigeria as a sinking ship, that the subsidy had to be removed, and this is now being tripled to the state government. Is it that the federal government has not done enough to make sure that the grassroots feel the impact of the revamping or the revitalizing of the economy of the country, or is it the subnationals that are not doing their job, especially when you juxtapose this with the Nigerian Senate, which has now approved the 4 key tax reform bills aiming to overhaul the tax system and improve revenue generation? Don't you see that this is going to help the health of the economy and public service delivery?
You're very right, Brian. Everything, I don't begrudge an ounce of what Uncle Sam said. And everything that the president is doing, I agree with. But as a doctor, if I want to carry out a surgery on you, I can't be telling you I want to do jejunal anastomosis. You don't want to know that. So that is the point of view of where the doctor comes in and says, okay, let me just anesthetize you. Let me put you to sleep while I do what I want to do. So all these things that are happening are very right. And Uncle Sam was very right. Even I was a racketeer, and I'll tell you how I racketed. If I wanted to buy a ticket from United States to Nigeria, and the ticket was going to cost me $1,000, I wouldn't pay with my dollar. I would send $650 to my aboki. He will send it to my cousin. He will buy that same ticket for me, and I will still tell him to keep the remaining change on top of it. So these things are very right. But like Uncle Sam also alluded to, when it comes to hunger, Yoruba people have that saying that is an hungry stomach cannot stomach another conversation. It is, if we fix this hunger, we know that to build anything takes time. Like I would always say, when it comes to between talent and hard work, investment is the most important thing to success. So when you can be as talented as Lionel Messi and as hardworking as Cristiano Ronaldo, but if you don't have someone to build a football pitch for you, buy you ball, you are never going to be a superstar. You might even be a beggar on the streets. And so when these state governors now have the money that is now accruing to them because we have stopped hemorrhaging money in the hands of our rich businessmen, they are now investing, but that investment will take time to grow. It might take even about a generation, but we have to stay at it. My only fear and worry is that the populism and the despair that the people feel will make them choose the alternative, which is going to be bad for the eventual future of the country. That is why I have been talking about this thing since 5 days after the president got inaugurated, that we need to end protectionism on food. We cannot be starving ourselves to our food production or to our salvation. It will not work. And if Nigerians can just eat, and Uncle Sam, you are very right, the price of rice came down after the president announced in August, shortly before the hunger strike, that he was going to allow the importation of grains. But in my own opinion, there were 2 poison pills that were put in there. That was the fact that it was restricted to just 6 months, and it was given, and the access was for only people who have invested in rice mills. So Bua told us last week that he has imported enough rice for Nigeria to eat up until December. but the Iya Ramota and Mama Chinedu that sells rice by Jerica and Congo cannot travel to Cotonou and buy 45,000 naira bag of rice, which was what was being sold for last year, and come and sell it to their customers for cheap. Sir, let me tell everybody in the studio, like if you do this math, according to last year, Nigeria consumed 7.2 million metric tons of rice, which will equate about 600,000 metric tons per month. This is equal to about 12 million bags of rice. Had Nigerians been buying those bags for 45,000 naira as opposed to the 90 to 120,000 that they were buying it last year, within 2 months, actually when I calculated it was 2 months, 6.6 days, Nigerians would have saved $800 million, which is equal to the amount of money that the president has gone to borrow from IMF to give direct transfer to poor families, and they've not even gotten 30% out of it. So there are very smart things. The fact that we are removing punishment, punitive, restrictive import duty on rice, flour, sugar, everything that Nigerians need to survive, that does not mean we stop investing in our farmers' ability to produce. We will be giving them the subsidies on their diesel. We can give them subsidies on their grains, on everything that they need, and even give them tax relief and all those things so that they can keep growing and they can be competitive with those imported food. Because if you look at it, the value of Naira is now very low, right? So that means even the importation is going to be very expensive. So we have already protected our farmers by the devaluation. So we should allow Nigerians get the best price. We have ended the extortion of the Nigerian Commonwealth. We need to end the exploitation of the Nigerian markets.
All right.
Let everybody compete.
Dr. Omarindoti, yeah, because of our time, we need to manage this, manage it very well. I want to bring the conversation now to Super Sam, to addressing some of the issues that Dr. Omarindoti mentioned, talking about ensuring that we are self-sufficient at the end of the day, and perhaps also tightening the noose around governors to ensure they do the needful. Yeah. Because at that level, they are supposed to put in policies and measures in place such that whatever has been done at the federal level gets to the masses who are the closest, who are also part of what the government is trying to address. But so far, it seems like we are not able to get the ability to rein in on them, to do the needful. I'm wondering why. And then the matter of corruption also comes to play. How do we address that as well?
You know, I said on Monday, it was on Monday when I was here, that when I met with the president, we discussed agriculture, and he said that they had imported 2,000 tractors. And during the FEC meeting, the agriculture minister, Kyari, said 1,000 had arrived. Well, this issue of agriculture is very important, and it's important to the president. We must give some governors the slack for their efforts at agriculture.
Not just it.
Yes, some of them. Like, for instance, Kaduna has been given a lot of, Obasanjo has given a lot of incentives to farmers, giving them implements to work and so on, giving, they have big farms there in Kaduna. Also, Niger State, they have been doing that. So you have to give some of them slack. You can say a lot of them are not on board in that regard. Many of the governors have a lot of resources now, and they should focus on that. And maybe they are even stunned by the fact that they have money, they have not come down to what to do with it. Part of the problem also is that everybody is concentrating, you said it earlier, on the president. What of the subnational states? Right. The local government law was supposed to address rural poverty because you're supposed to bring money to the local governments and the grassroots. But the governors have not implemented it. If you want to ask me why this is going on, I will say it is because our civil society organizations are hypocritical.
How so?
Hypocritical.
How so?
Because if it were the government in the center that had this kind of responsibility to do things like this, they would have gone to strike on the streets. Why have they not held the governors responsible? The social critics who are making noise all over the place, when have they put the pressure on the government. If anybody puts pressure on the governors, will say, pay, make sure that your local government go and sign all the conditions necessary to transfer money to the local government. Right. If they do that, you will see that the governments will do it. They will not do it because there is a bitterness over 2023 elections. And they don't want anything that will create a semblance of cooperation with the government, which is very bad because it is supposed to be out to our own benefits. I remember when the president met with some elders in the north very early, he said, go and talk to your governors. Go and talk to your governors so that the people in the rural areas can benefit. Some of them are working it. They are working it. Kaduna is doing its own. Niger is doing its own, and a few others. But we have to create a situation where we must understand that Nigeria is a collective, and a collective has to work properly. Now, agriculture, being the fulcrum of our own production, needs our people to coordinate both both the supply and the demand aspect of it. The supply, I mean, both imports and also local production. I understand that the prices of rice is going down mainly because of the imports that have flooded the market, yeah. And that the local, even as far as even the local ones, the prices will come down, but not as much as the imports. But this is kind of tension that we need in order to beat down inflation. So we can say that even though we are not there where the price of food is supposed to be, the price of food is coming down. But because they say we want to talk about the core inflation, is food, energy, transportation. Yeah. Those are the things. Now, when the food prices and fuel prices are coming down, who is pressuring the NURTW groups? Nobody has pressured them to say, you people raised your prices because of fuel price when it went over 1,000. Yeah. Now the thing is under 1,000. You have not still asked your people to bring down the price.
Well, in one of the arguments they have is that transportation is not just about fuel. It also has to do with
the condition of the roads,
spare parts for the cars, and so on and so forth.
But there were those conditions before they raised it.
That's a good way to argue it. Yeah. All right. Let's go to you, Dr. Maridoti. You have been giving some very brilliant suggestions about things, and you've been directing it to the federal government. Now, let us look at the state governments, and I want us to look at it from two angles. Agriculture. The state governors are the owners of the land, and they are the ones that are very close to the people, and we are having this issue of insecurity, though not all over Nigeria, but a good percentage of Nigeria is seeing that. What role do you think the governors should play to reduce this insecurity that we are facing so that our farmers can go to farm and produce the much needed food for our population?
Yeah, thank you very much. I would definitely start by saying that I am a big supporter of President Tinubu, and so I am aware that a lot of all these things, definitely there's the bitterness about 2023 and an effort to sabotage his efforts. That is why the Yoruba people say Tomodi Babogons Kiku. If you want to malinga and think that the parents should can malinga and fake a burial. So the things that are happening, definitely some people don't want to agree, cooperate with it, but they also cannot reject the extra money that's coming to them. But when we talk about this food production and the role of the state government, yes, there's this security problem, and even after you have fixed security, it will take time for people to believe in you and to have the confidence to go back. Even in my state, if you space, and the government is already, interacting with it, trying to get major technologies and all. But this security thing is is something that has been very intractable. Even before the advent of Boko Haram, Nigeria had a lot of security challenges, and I believe it was because of the structure that we had, which we abandoned, which we what's it called, imbibed after the 1966 coup. I could remember during my conversation with His Royal Majesty Olufalaye, he told me that when he was in secondary school that they had Western Region Police. I didn't even know that. Here, every local government have their own policing, and then they can make their own choices. So if you look at it like the story you heard before we started this segment, where the kings were the ones selling arms to bandits. If people in the community were the ones in charge of their policing, they would have picked those things up early. Majority of times, people in the community, they know. So that a cow entered somebody's farm should not be something that should even rise to the level of the federal government or even the state governor. They should have city ordinances prosecuting that city and put people to jail or whatever. So we need to have a restructuring. And when we talk about inflation, to transportation, inflation is very, very important. We have put punitive import duty on cars. So if I want to start a transportation business right now, I cannot bring luxurious buses that can carry maybe 50 people at a time into Nigeria without paying the federal government about 250% of the cost price of the bus. So these things are stifling the transportation, the number of cars that are needed to bring down the cost of transportation. So because it's always about demand and like Obe said, Gbogbo bus stop, and if we go to energy inflation too, I want to just bring that last point. Electricity in Nigeria, the deputy governor of Lagos monthly bill went from 2.7 million to 29 million, a 900% plus increase, and he could not choose to go to another provider. So if we don't give them competition, because the subsidy I'm sure was also rife with fraud, if we don't give them competition, they will keep on abusing the Nigerian market. So we need to allow, even if it's just the ones that are operating right now, to operate all across the country so that there will be competition. People will have choice, the power of choice. It is very essential to fix all these things that we want to do in Nigeria. The government cannot be picking the losers and the winners in the economy. They should let fair competition, and then we will watch our better life go up.
That's right. Let's bring it to the studio to Uncle Sam. If you look at some of the reforms that the present administration has brought to the table, some of which we've highlighted, mentioned, but if you go to the energy sector, the NNPC, for instance, a whole lot of money had been sunk into revamping that sector. Turnaround maintenance for Port Harcourt refinery, that of the Kaduna and some Warri, etc. And just recently, is it Warri or Port Harcourt refinery that is now being suspended? Port Harcourt. So despite the huge amount of money spent into it, and we had different stories. Now we're having the NNPC board and all of that. Do you not feel that we are not doing enough when it comes to the kind of money, the amount of money we're spending and the results we're getting? That so much so that it will affect the price or impact on the price of fuel, the cost of fuel for Nigerian people, and then pose serious competition or healthy competition with the Dangote refinery, for the benefit of the majority?
Yeah, it's a good question. But before I answer that, I want to speak briefly on security, because when we're talking about security, sometimes we forget where the level of insecurity was when Ashwaju became president and where it is now. We forget that Kogi, Nasarawa, Kaduna, Katsina, Zamfara, Sokoto, all those places were places where we had daily upsurge of violence. Yeah. We don't see that much again. Not that they're not there. When was the last time you heard of such a thing in Kogi, or the last time you heard of it in Nasarawa? In Kaduna, for instance, the southern Kaduna is not out of the woods, but you don't see, you don't hear. The most fraud part of Kaduna, the bringing Gwari local government, places like Giwa, where there was complete insecurity in those places. In fact, the president had to visit there during the campaign because it was regarded as the hotbed of insecurity in the Northwest. That place, there was a market there that was shut down for about a decade, which has now been revived. The market is now working. So the upsurge that we saw in Plateau and Benue recently tend to exaggerate the extent to which the problem is and tend to tamp down what progress has been made. And a lot has been made in those areas where so we have to know that while noting that there's still a lot of work to be done, must know that a lot has been achieved even within the past. Now, going back to the issue of reforms in the oil sector. The oil sector was, if you understand, was the beginning and end of the Nigerian subsidy problem. And at the center of it was the NNPCL. So what has been going on has been handling it in different sectors. One of it was oil theft, which has now been, it has now reduced even.
Could you just quickly hold the thought?
Okay.
Because we need to go on a commercial break.
All right.
When we return, we'll continue this conversation with you and Dr. Marion Dati as well. Just stay with us. With Sam Omasheye, a columnist, essayist in the studio, as well as Dr. Oludare Marion Dati, convener of Social Rehabilitation, Grace and Support Initiative. Sam, you were talking about reforms in the oil sector.
Yes, I said that the oil sector was the beginning and end, the alpha and omega of the problem with the oil, with the subsidy and the economic revitalization bugbear. And the thing has been handled from various angles. One of them was, oil theft was very serious. That's right. It's still an important problem, but even the Financial Times admitted that it has been really tackled seriously by this administration. That I think last count now is 1.5 million barrels. That's what we get now from there, from about 1,000 or so when it took over. Then there's also the issue that the refineries. Now the refineries, many people thought that will not get on stream. They are getting back on stream. There have been some problems again, but these are good problems to have, to find them coming
because
back.
Of the monies that we've been spending on turnaround maintenance. And just 6 months ago, we spent $1.5 billion. And here we are again. That's what Nigerians are talking about.
It's maintenance. I mean, they didn't say it's a shutdown. They say it's maintenance.
But
we should not get ahead of ourselves here. It's called maintenance.
Right.
Yes, when you have your car, you do routine you services and so on. There might have been some problems. I am not a technician. I don't know what has gone into it. So it's not as if it is the end of the Port Harcourt refinery. So let us get that out of the way.
All right.
So there are problems with it. One of the reasons that he wants to tackle is the change of the board, and the man has been sworn in July. Yeah. So we'll give him the opportunity now to look at what is meeting on the ground and how he's going to turn it around.
Okay, interesting. Let's get back to Dr. Marion Dati talking about this whole matter. A statement was released by the president, and he touched on something you mentioned earlier, talking about Nigerians being patient. And he has admitted that Nigerians are patient, and he is not taking that patience for granted. And let's get your reaction to this statement coming from the president. Yes, he knows that he is paying attention to the fact that these reforms, though needed, are having their impact on Nigerians. But Nigerians, he has said, need to be patient. But now he's saying he's not taking that patience for granted. Even though we've just gone halfway, I think Nigerians need more patience. Invariably, that's what he's saying.
Yeah, thank you very much. Before I comment on that statement, I want to say something. Nigeria returned to democracy in 1999. Then I was 10 years old. I was actually 4 days away from my 10th birthday. So that means my birthday is around the corner. And ever since then, I have been hearing about this turnaround maintenance, right? But it seems as if that maintenance has been turning on its own since then, because we keep getting this, hiccups. I feel like it might be a smarter decision for the administration, for Nigeria as a whole, to sell those things to the people who will be able to manage it, without any fraud. But when it comes to, the statement that the president said, yes, I am so happy about that statement, because I know that from my own selfish point of view, I know that come next year, I will be one of the foot soldiers campaigning for this administration. At least I know my governor will not let me sit idly by. And I need the weapons to be able to, use in that battle, because definitely it is going to be intense. Social media, like it was used in 2023, will be put on steroids against us. And we need to also address all these things from afar. But the Nigerian people are very patient, but patient also has a limit. We are not inelastically, patient. So and the most important thing, like I said, the hierarchy of need, physiologic is one, and the most important in that physiologic is food. If they told you there's terrorist threat somewhere, but there's food in that place, if you're hungry, you will eat that food first before you run for your safety. That is because of that of need. So we need to fix this thing. I am saying it, and I am very particular about it, because if you look at it, Nigeria got into what's it called, democracy 26 years ago. The average age of a Nigerian is about 17.8 years. So majority of Nigerians don't remember the military era. When I talk to young Nigerians right now, people even my age mate and a little older than me, they revere this Traore guy in Burkina Faso. So, and I wonder why. But if you let the despair to go so much, and they feel that pain so much, they might start finding an odious notion like autocracy palatable or even attractive, or even clamoring for it. And that is my my own major concern. So I'm happy that the president has also shown utmost urgency to this patience of Nigerian people that is wearing thin. Because even for me, my own family, I don't call home and talk politics with them, because I know a lot of them are pissed. This is my own personal experience. I call my baby cousin. He will not tell me to buy a Nike shoe. He will tell me I am hungry. That is why I am going back to this very important thing, that the president needs to end protection on food. What started the American Revolution, one of the most important things, was putting tax on tea, because the British put tax on tea. So the food is very, very visceral. It goes into your stomach. It is very something that people feel. You cannot tell the people not to listen to their hungry stomach. So even if you want to tell them not to believe their lying eyes, you can't tell them not to listen to their hungry stomach, because that hunger will keep on panging. It does not matter. So we have to fix that thing. If we fix food, Nigerians are very, very patient and understanding people. They will let the president do everything he wants to do, because they know they are eating. Because all these investments that they are making right now, it will take time to materialize. President Tinubu started a revolution in Lagos. But that revolution, the person that has benefited from it most is the governor, someone who is the current governor today. The next better beneficiary will be the one that succeeds him. So this revolution that is starting is not going to be something that is going to end, but it's very vital, because it is that foundation that the skyscraper of Nigeria is going to be built on. But it needs to give the people the time so that they will let in. So that is what I'm trying to say. The pain is so much and so severe. I am happy the president is putting too much, that much urgency to it, but he should address it. He should rip the band-aid off. End protectionism on food. On food. I am saying this repeatedly, on food, and we will be okay.
All right, your message is loud and clear. All right, Uncle Sam, talking about food, naturally somebody will want to think about the health sector. What is your assessment of Mr. President's performance in the health sector?
Yes, before I talk about that, food is important, but we're saying that the president should pay more attention to food. It's not as if he has not paid more attention to food. Remember what we did with the food palliatives. It ran into some problems because politicians hijacked it, and Nigerians were asked to queue to go and collect rice, and they shot themselves in the foot. Then the customs tell them to line up one family for a bag. Some people will bring 4 people from their family on the line. and then somebody collapse or
Yes,
something like
yes.
that. So the problem, when we want to solve our own problems, we should help ourselves solve our own problems. So we also had problems with politicians hijacking it. There was a case in Edo State where they even thought that it was Tinubu that was hiding the rice against them. He gave you rice, I was hiding, whereas it was the other party that they were trying to hoard the rice and keep it for election, for their campaigns, things like that. So there are certain systemic problems and so on. I also believe that we can go back to the issue of food or palliatives, but give it to the churches. The churches, and hold them responsible. So if your pastor doesn't give you your rice, you won't pay your tithes that day or that month. Take it to the mosques, take it to the schools, and things like that. Take politicians out of it, but politicians will always be politicians. So we have our own way of in terms of health. You see, Pate is a very systemic person, and they have built so many primary health centers across the country. Another thing they're trying to tackle, and this is going to take time, is fake drugs and then the cost of drugs. The cost of drugs have dropped now here because of some of the interventions that were done. Immediately, the essential drugs went up. Those having diabetes, high blood pressure, and so on. So those ones they didn't just skyrocket. I think the prices have been restrained now. Then what they are doing, like when I attended the FEC, one of the proposals that was approved was the production of the fact that they want to undertake a PPA, that's public-private partnership,
yes,
to produce drugs here in Nigeria.
Okay.
So by that way, they can choke away all of them.
We need to go on a commercial, yes. When we return, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us. And security. He cited achievements, including economic reforms, yielding results with inflation easing and new investments, security improvements with restored order in some areas and rescued abductees, human capital development initiatives, including education and healthcare upgrades, infrastructure development with major road construction and electricity upgrades. President Tinubu also expressed confidence in Nigeria's future, thanking citizens for their resilience and support. All right. This conversation has been on before now, but we have more guests joining us this time from Abuja, where the Executive Director, Peering Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa, Ezenwa Nwagu, joins us to give us his view of the President's 2-year in office. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Nice joining you this morning.
Great. Now, the President, from his statement, has reeled out the progress his administration has made, be it in the economic sector, education, name it, and ensuring the stabilization of the economy as well as addressing matters of insecurity. But he did not forget that Nigerians have been patient enough with his administration at ensuring that they see results with regards to the steps, major steps he needed to take. Let's get your perspective of what the President has said.
Well, I think that first it's okay to do some chest thumping in terms of what has been achieved, but to score yourself will be the will not be completely out of place. But the people to ask the question about your performance in leadership will be those who voted you in, those who braved the sun, the rains to cast their votes during the 2023 election. I think the verdict of how much leadership has performed will dwell within the people. The truth of the matter is that the poorest of the poor are still grinding in the trauma, if you like, the shackles of poverty, hunger, disease is still very deep in the backwater communities of our country. Not just even in urban situations, hunger, starvation is still. So the president needs to do more in terms of ensuring that the shocks of this IMF World Bank induced reforms that has not really anywhere, there is nowhere their reforms have brought ease for the majority of the people. I think there should be some rethinking in terms of how we can make the life of our ordinary people much easier, much better. Truth of the matter is that, yes, in terms of security, there is some light in the tunnel, but these reforms are grinding. The earning power of a greater percentage of the citizens cannot match up with the true ups of these reforms. Power, with that electricity, gas is still on the very high rise, and we're hoping that as he enters into the second leg of this tenure, that there will be some visioning in terms of how to ameliorate the sufferings of the greater majority of the citizens.
Oh, okay. People would want to say that for you to run the country very well, you have to take care of some very urgent issues. When Mr. President was sworn in, the first thing he did was remove subsidy, which he described as a big scam. And he has also done some things about the racketeering that Uncle Sam was talking about. But from your own assessment, where do you think you will say he has done really well? I agree, you've said something about security. What other aspect of the Nigerian economy, the Nigerian project, do you think Mr. President has done well?
Well, I feel some stability in terms of the fiscal regime. The dollar, I mean, what do you call it, forex, the play in the forex area has been a bit stable. But all of that pans into insignificance when the majority of your citizens do not respond to the stimuli of the harsh conditions. So the challenge is not reforms. And we live in this country. If you do a media content analysis post 2023, we've been told to, to make those sacrifices. The better part of my adult life has been about making sacrifices, the people making sacrifices. And these sacrifices that the people make has not been rewarded in terms of going to the hospitals and having access to medicines. Public hospitals have been concessioned out. There is no housing for the poor. Whereas houses are mushrooming, estates are mushrooming all over different capitals in the country, they are not affordable. So the challenge is not some of the chest thumping that we see. It has to be much more about how do the people feel, and that's the point that I continue to make. If we celebrate, what is government supposed to be doing? Government exists for the welfare, for the betterment, for the livelihood of the people that they govern. So some of this chest thumping is unnecessary. What I think needs to happen is to say, what have we not done well? Where do we need to go in the next 2 years to make the majority of our people happy? So I do not jealous the fact that we are celebrating that security has relatively improved, but the challenge is that killings, unnecessary killing, even one killing diminishes us as a people. So the bigger challenge will be how to improve on whatever gains that have been made, and the ones that we think, more importantly, the sufferings, the pains of the majority of the people have to be looked into.
And on top of this, we are having lots and lots of politicking in between the line. We saw some people moving from the opposition party to the ruling party. Others are also defecting. Some are also signposting their plan for defection. The All Progressives Congress, especially the governors, they endorsed the president for re-election in 2027. And people are asking the question, does this early endorsement, for election reflect confidence in President Tinubu's leadership, or does it raise concerns about political priorities overshadowing pressing national issues?
The political elites of our country pander to patronage and cronyism. So the ability to stay out of position is not a long haul for them. Well, it's not just the president. If you go to a place like Enugu State, for instance, where the PDP dominates, majority of the people who are in opposition in that state are also defecting to the PDP. In Abia State, people are also defecting to ABGA. To Labour Party. So the big challenge is to understand that for the elite of the country, is not about principles, is about self-preservation, is about self-protection. So we cannot use defections to measure how happy the people are with leadership. Take it from me, I do not subscribe to those who say that the president hasn't achieved much. I think he has done pretty well in the areas that we've already listed. But my challenge is that the measurement for good governance, for performance, will be how much freedom, how much of the civic space is open for alternative thinking, for alternative thoughts, how much can people access basic amenities like power, medicines, infrastructure, good roads. I know a lot of work is going around, roads and the rest of them, but there should be much more intentionality in ensuring that the pains, the sufferings that ordinary Nigerians are going through is ameliorated in this second leg as we go in.
I'd like for you to be specific when you talk about intentionality from the government or the current administration. We know that the president cannot be everywhere, and so he has his team. He has the ministers and also the subnationals that are meant to translate his ideas down to the grassroots. How can he better work with these people? And those are the subnationals actually taking responsibility in playing the needed role. So much the president will say he is doing, but we do not see the subnationals keying in seemingly into what the president is trying to achieve.
I agree with you absolutely. The subnationals are the weak link in delivering the much needed dividends of democracy for the majority of our people. The resources that is available to them, they preside over them as emperors. Whereas we are very quick in engaging budgets at the national level, we are very quick in putting the leg of the federal, administration on the fire. The same energy is not put in holding governors and the people who preside at the subnational, hold them accountable the way we do at the federal level. And it has something to do with, always deliberately pushing attention away from ourselves and our responsibilities and outsource it to other people. With the humongous amount of money that is going to the states, we expect that the governors will live up to that responsibility. But we have not seen that. But what do they tell their people? They continue to let them, the federal government, but nobody is, the civil society activity within those subnationals is weak. The media, the labor that should be the center of, holding government accountable is so, held back with the suffocating influence of the leaders at the subnational, that they are not able to, express themselves. But as we go forward, it is still part of the responsibility of the president to encourage, because we run a federal system. He can't whip them into line as we expect, but he needs to encourage them to come in line with whatever vision that will help to stamp out some of the diminishing factors that we have seen, like hunger, like the challenge of insecurity. And you remember, the governors are always saying they are not chief security officers of their states, that it is the federal government. But the truth of the matter is that they work hand in hand. The security committees in the states. He's precise over them, but when it comes to responsibility, it is our source. But benefits are particularized. So you are quite right that the subnationals will need to, come into, the same distance with the federal government in delivering much needed, ease for the majority of the people who live in these spaces.
Yes, you agree with Dr. Marandoti on the impact of governance to the average Nigerian, the biggest being an average Nigerian wants to see food on his table. He wants to go to the market and buy things cheap and all this and all that. Now, if you were president of Nigeria, for example, what are the steps you would take to ensure that that happens?
Is to incentivize agriculture in a way that it drives, it can take in young people, the initiative of young people, in a way that is not just planting, it's not just farming, but the processing of it, the value chain of it is such that you can get young graduates, for instance, and put them into cooperatives to go to Fiditi and look at the fruits that are wasting away in those places and see how you can get them into juices that can be sold. You can go to Sapele and look at plantain that is rotting away in the markets of Sapele and see how they can be made into plantain flour through some cooperative. You can take their certificates and give them, soft loans that can help them become productive in that way. You can also begin to see how you block leakages, the leakages of corruption. There are accusations, part of the challenge is that the big challenge is not that we do not have the resources. It is that the level of stealing, mindless stealing that is going on with people who preside over the trust of the people is unchecked in spite of everything that we have thrown into it. So if you plug those holes, if you incentivize young people, if you also create the enabling environment by reducing cost of power, if you are into any form of production in Nigeria, you are going to go out of steam. It's just a matter of time, because the cost of diesel, the cost of power, the cost of electricity will snuff the life out of those businesses. So government must do everything in a way that allows the private initiatives to thrive without being suffocated.
Right.
And that, for me, will be some liberating factor to ease some of the tension that we see in the country at this time.
Dr. Marandoti, very quickly, we have just less than 2 minutes to the end of this conversation. But if you can quickly go at this. If you look at the healthcare sector, according to the president in his statement, he said that over 4,000 free sections were done, 1,000 revitalized PHCs and free dialysis. I want to ask you whether these are symbolic wins or indicators of long-lasting or lasting healthcare revolution. Very quickly.
These are tokenistic. These are the challenge that we have.
Sorry,
is
Mr.
more than
Nwagu.
4,000.
Mr. Nwagu, the question is actually for Dr. Marandoti, who is in the United States.
Thank you very much for briefly. So while everybody might have spoken about the Minister of Interior, Minister of FCT, I believe Ali Pate is the most effective. He understands what he's doing. The first thing that he did that you are not even talking about was what happened when I was in Part 3, 2007, 2008, when they reduced the number of doctors, nurses, all healthcare workers that they were admitting. And for 15 years, we continued that until it got in 2023 and we reduced it. That is one of the reasons why there is an acute shortage. And I believe they did this reduction in concession to get better salaries from the federal government. That was a negotiation on that.
Unfortunately,
that was very essential. So all these infrastructural things that they are doing is important. But I believe they still need to restructure the Nigerian healthcare sector. The Nigerian government is currently funding inefficiencies. We need to make these hospitals work for the money that the federal government is giving them.
All right. Let's bring the conversation back to the studio, Sam. Your final thoughts on this current administration's, how they can build on what they have achieved. And
I think that the doom and gloom that I've heard from some people in this morning will appear as if the government has been remiss, has been absent from work, which is very unfortunate. One, this government inherited a system where 97% of what the government earned was used to pay debts. Now it has gone back down to 65. They've paid all IMF debt. They've stabilized the economy. You have to do that first. It's just like when you are flying on an aircraft. They will tell you that when there is an emergency, wear your own mask first before that of your child, or else there will be confusion or even fatality. So what has happened is that you have to stabilize the system first. There is going to be hunger, but because you cannot take care of hunger without stabilizing the system that will take care of the people who are hungry. And people are making analysis, especially people who are supposed to be very intelligent at making analysis, almost appear as if they don't understand the running of government or the running of an economy. You have to stabilize the structure of the economy before it can get down to the people, and that's what's going on. And they have, don't forget that students are getting loans. Students are getting loans. About half a million have already gotten loans, which is significant. I went to give a talk at Trinity University. The private university students are saying they also want loans. The credit corp is giving those who are investing for money and so on. So what we are seeing here is that the economy is stabilizing, and I wish the government will continue with the process. The Financial Times warned that because election is coming, the president should not stamp down his reform. So it should continue.
Yes. Economist, TV host, thank you for your time. Dr. Ludari Marion-Dotsi, convener of Social Rehabilitation, Grace and Support Initiative. Thank you for your time as well. And then we must also thank Ezenwawagu, Executive Director, Caring Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time on the program. We'll take a break now.